Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with perhaps the most fundamental truth about habit formation and about life itself. Nothing of real and lasting value can be built without the discipline of self-respect. You see, before you can master your schedule, your relationships, your career, or even your health, you must first master the way you see yourself. The habits of your daily life are not just tasks you check off a list. They are reflections of the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you are worth. If you do not respect yourself, you will not rise in the morning with intention. You will sleep longer than you should, not because you need the rest, but because you have unconsciously told yourself that your time isn't valuable enough to protect. If you do not respect yourself, you will allow people to cross your boundaries, not because you are kind, but because you are afraid of standing firm. And if you do not respect yourself, you will sabotage your own potential by indulging in distractions, toxic relationships, and wasted opportunities. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not an inflated sense of self. It is not pride in the shallow sense of the word. True self-respect is the recognition that your life is sacred, that your time is finite, and that your body, your mind, and your spirit are worthy of care. And here's the paradox: people often think self-respect comes after achievement, after they lose the weight, after they earn the promotion, after they find the right partner. But the truth is it must come before. You cannot achieve without it, because achievement requires discipline, and discipline cannot exist in the absence of respect for yourself. Think about it this way. If you had a precious object in your care, say a rare and priceless diamond, you would handle it with caution. You would place it where it could not be damaged. You would clean it, protect it, value it. Now ask yourself, do you treat yourself with that same level of respect? Do you treat your time, your health, your energy as something rare, precious, and non-renewable? Or do you squander it as though it were infinite? For women especially, self-respect becomes a foundation not only for their own lives, but for the lives they influence. A woman who respects herself teaches others how to treat her, not through lectures, not through demands, but through quiet consistency. Her posture, her decisions, her words all communicate a silent message: I know my worth, and therefore I cannot be diminished by your judgment or your rejection. And this creates an aura of authority, a dignity that others can sense even without her speaking it aloud. But how is this respect cultivated in daily habits? It begins in the smallest of choices. Waking up at a consistent time, even when you don't feel like it. That is self-respect. Eating food that nourishes rather than numbs. That is self-respect. Saying no to someone who drains your energy without apology. That too is self-respect. Even the discipline of keeping your space clean and orderly is a reflection of respect, because chaos in the environment creates chaos in the mind. Each of these small acts is a declaration: I am worth the effort. And here is something important to remember. Self-respect grows through repetition. It's not a single grand decision, not one dramatic moment of awakening. It is a daily discipline, built choice by choice, often in silence, often unnoticed by the world. But over time, these choices accumulate. They shape character, they solidify identity, they transform not just how you see yourself, but how others respond to you. Because people, whether they admit it or not, will always mirror back the value you project onto yourself. There will be days when this discipline feels heavy, when your emotions tempt you to slip into self-neglect. But understand this: emotions are fickle, they rise and fall like waves. Discipline rooted in respect is what steadies the ship, and the beauty of it is this: when you act out of self-respect, your emotions eventually follow. Confidence grows. Peace deepens. Purpose clarifies. So, if you want to master habits that change your life, begin here with the discipline of self-respect. Guard your time. Honor your body. Protect your boundaries. And most of all, refuse to live as though your existence were trivial. Because it isn't. It matters deeply. Not just for you, but for every person whose life you touch. The truth is simple: if you do not respect yourself, no one else truly will. But if you learn to carry yourself with dignity, to treat your own life as something sacred, then everything else, discipline, achievement, influence, follows as a natural consequence. Respect yourself first, the rest will come. If self-respect is the foundation, then structure is the architecture built upon it. Because once you begin to value yourself, the natural question becomes: how do you protect that value? How do you channel it so it doesn't dissolve into chaos, distraction, and wasted potential? The answer is structure. Daily patterns of living that transform your time from something accidental into something intentional. Life, left unchecked, tends toward disorder. This is not merely poetic, it is a fundamental truth, one even recognized in physics. Chaos does not need permission to enter, it arrives by default. And so, To live without structure is to surrender to chaos. To live without routines, without order, without any deliberate organization of your time, is to drift. And drifting, though it may feel free for a while, always ends in despair because it robs you of direction. A structured life, on the other hand, is not a cage. It is not a rigid system designed to suffocate your individuality. No, it is more like a trellis in a garden, a framework that allows a plant to grow upward rather than sprawl aimlessly across the ground. And when you begin to build this trellis for yourself, when you shape your days with purpose, you discover that freedom actually flourishes within structure, not outside it. Think of your mornings. The way you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake at random hours, scrolling through your phone, already distracted before you've even stood up, you have surrendered your day to chaos before it has begun. But if you rise at a consistent time, if you spend even a few moments in silence, in reflection, in gratitude or prayer, you have already declared war against disorder. You have drawn the line, saying, "My time is mine, and I will not waste it." That is not slavery to routine. That is liberation. And it is not just mornings. The same applies to evenings. The final hours of the day are a rehearsal for tomorrow. A woman who understands this does not fall asleep in chaos. She winds down with intention. She tidies her environment, plans for the next day, and creates a rhythm that signals to her body and mind, we are closing this day with dignity, and we will rise tomorrow with readiness. But structure is not only about mornings and nights. It is the rhythm of your entire life. It is deciding that certain things will be non-negotiable. Your health, your learning, your moments of stillness, your responsibilities. Structure is setting boundaries in time the same way you set boundaries in relationships. It is saying, these hours will not be stolen by distraction because they belong to something greater. Now, some people resist this idea. They think structure will make their lives monotonous, that it will drain the color and spontaneity out of existence. But the opposite is true. It is precisely when you create order that you create space for joy, for creativity, for play. Without order, even pleasures lose their meaning because they are built on the sinking sand of disorder. Imagine a life of endless leisure without structure. It quickly devolves into boredom, even despair. But leisure that comes as the reward for structure tastes different. It carries with it satisfaction because it has been earned. For women, this art of structure carries an even deeper weight. A structured woman communicates stability, not only to herself, but to everyone around her. She becomes a center of gravity in her relationships, her family, her workplace. Others may be scattered, distracted, or unreliable, but her consistency anchors them. And people are drawn to anchors. They are drawn to those who have carved order out of chaos. This is why habits like journaling, exercise, meal planning, or even the simple act of keeping a calendar are not trivial. They are profound. They are daily acts of resistance against chaos. They are the scaffolding upon which character is built. And over time, these practices harden into discipline, and that discipline becomes identity. What is at stake here is not whether you have a planner or wake up at 6 in the morning. What is at stake is your life trajectory. Without structure, you will always be at the mercy of circumstance, tossed by whatever force is loudest that day. With structure, you gain agency, you write the script instead of reacting to everyone else's. So let me leave you with this thought: chaos does not need your permission to rule your life. It will invade by default if you do nothing. Structure, however, must be chosen, built, and defended. Choose it, build it, defend it, because in the art of daily structure lies the power to transform not only your days but your destiny. If self-respect is the foundation and structure is the framework, then renewal is the life force that keeps the entire structure alive. Because even when you respect yourself and impose order on your days, the truth is that life is relentless. Fatigue accumulates, obstacles appear, entropy presses in. Without renewal, even the most disciplined life will begin to wither. Renewal is the daily act of replenishing the mind, body, and spirit so that discipline does not become drudgery and order does not become lifeless rigidity. Growth is not a single event. It is not achieved in one grand decision or one breakthrough moment of clarity. It is achieved in the steady rhythm of renewal, through small daily practices that sharpen the mind, strengthen the body, and purify the soul. A woman who understands this does not wait until she is burnt out to restore herself. She builds renewal into her life the way a gardener waters plants, not only when the soil is dry, but as a regular rhythm that keeps life flourishing. One of the most powerful forms of renewal is learning. Reading, studying, listening to voices wiser than your own. These practices remind you that the world is larger than your immediate concerns. Knowledge is food for the mind, and without it, the intellect starves. But it is not just about reading for entertainment. It is about deliberately feeding yourself material that stretches your thinking, challenges your assumptions, and refines your understanding of reality. Because when your mind grows, your capacity for life expands. And the moment you stop learning, you begin shrinking. Equally important is the renewal of the body. You cannot sustain your ambitions if your health is neglected. Exercise is not merely about appearance. It is about resilience, strength, and vitality. It is about proving to yourself each day that you can endure discomfort in the pursuit of something greater. Every drop of sweat is a declaration that you will not surrender to weakness. And nutrition, too, plays its part. Food can either be medicine or poison. What you put into your body either renews you or erodes you. A woman who masters renewal chooses deliberately because she knows her body is the vessel through which she engages the world. And then there is the renewal of the spirit. This is perhaps the most neglected in modern life because we live in an age of constant distraction, where silence is rare and reflection almost extinct. Yet without spiritual renewal, whether through prayer, meditation, gratitude, or contemplation, a person becomes hollow. You may have energy, you may have knowledge, you may even have success, but if the soul is parched, life feels meaningless. Renewal of the spirit reminds us of our place in the greater order of existence. It grounds us in humility, reminding us that life is not just about consumption and ambition, but about service, meaning, and connection to something higher. The beauty of renewal is that it transforms repetition into growth. Without renewal, daily habits can feel like a grind. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat, and soon even structure becomes suffocating. But with renewal, repetition becomes transformation. The same actions, infused with reflection and energy, gradually shape you into something stronger, wiser, more resilient. It is worth recognizing, too, that renewal requires humility. It requires admitting that you are not inexhaustible, that you need rest, that you need guidance, that you need moments of stillness. Too many people equate renewal with weakness, as though pausing to reflect or care for yourself is indulgence. But the truth is the opposite. Renewal is strength, because it acknowledges reality. Even machines need maintenance. Even the strongest structures need repair. How much more, then, do human beings require it? And let me emphasize this: renewal is not selfish. A renewed woman becomes a source of strength for others. When you care for your mind, you bring clarity into your relationships. When you care for your body, you bring energy into your work. When you care for your spirit, you bring peace into every environment you enter. Renewal does not just restore you, it multiplies you, extending your influence in ways you cannot measure. The question, then, is not whether you need renewal, you do. The question is whether you will choose it deliberately, daily, before burnout forces it upon you. Because life will demand it one way or another. You can choose to renew yourself proactively, or you can collapse and be forced to do it in crisis. But wisdom is found in the first path, so do not neglect this truth. Make renewal a discipline. Learn daily, move daily, reflect daily. Protect your soul from corrosion by carving out sacred moments of silence. Because without renewal, all your self-respect and structure will eventually crumble. But with it you can endure, you can flourish, you can grow. The simple truth is this: the woman who renews herself daily is unstoppable, because she never runs out of strength. Once you have cultivated self-respect, established structure, and embraced renewal, there is a final truth you must face: your life is not yours alone. Every choice you make, every habit you practice, radiates outward. It touches the people closest to you, it shapes the culture you live in, and it leaves an imprint far beyond what you can immediately see. This is the responsibility of influence, and it is one of the heaviest burdens a woman can carry, yet also one of the most profound opportunities. You cannot escape this reality. You are always influencing. Even in silence, even in passivity, even in neglect, you are teaching others how to live. If you choose disorder, if you live carelessly, you are not just weakening yourself, you are showing others that chaos is acceptable. But if you live with discipline, with dignity, with intention, your very presence becomes a sermon. You become living proof that a life of order and meaning is possible. Influence is not about titles or platforms. It is not limited to those in positions of power or those with large audiences. Influence is woven into the fabric of ordinary life. A child watches her mother's habits and learns what strength looks like. A friend observes how you handle adversity and discovers a model for resilience. A colleague sees how you carry yourself with dignity, even under pressure, and finds the courage to do the same. These moments often pass unnoticed, but they are powerful because human beings learn more from example than from instruction. This is why mastering daily habits is not a selfish pursuit. It is an act of service. By becoming disciplined, You are not just building your own life, you are building a lighthouse that others can navigate by. In a world increasingly fragmented by distraction, instability, and moral confusion, the presence of even one steady, disciplined individual can bring clarity to an entire group. And there is another truth worth recognizing. Influence carries weight not only because people watch what you do, but because they feel what you embody. Human beings are deeply intuitive. We sense the energy, the presence, the spirit of those around us. A woman who respects herself, who structures her days, who renews her body and mind, she radiates authority without ever raising her voice. People may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. They are drawn to it. And that is influence at its highest form. Not manipulation, not control, but attraction through integrity. Of course, influence also demands responsibility because it is double-edged. Just as you can inspire others, you can also discourage them. Just as you can call people upward, you can drag them downward. Every habit you choose carries with it a ripple effect. The question is never whether you are influencing, but what kind of influence you are choosing to be. The challenge, then, is to carry this responsibility consciously. To wake each day with the understanding that your life is not small. Your words, your actions, your posture, these things ripple out into families, communities, even generations. And this should not paralyze you with fear, but empower you with meaning. Because the truth is that the ordinary decisions you make today may be the reason someone else finds the courage to change tomorrow. Think about this. History itself is shaped less by speeches and more by lived examples. It is the mother who instills discipline in her children. It is the teacher who demonstrates patience. It is the leader who lives out the principles he demands of others. In every case, the true measure of influence is integrity. And integrity is nothing more than the consistent practice of daily habits that align with your highest values. So when you commit to these habits, self-respect, structure, renewal, you are not just improving yourself. You are taking on a mantle of responsibility. You are saying, "Now I will live in such a way that others can look at me and see what is possible." That is no small thing. In fact, that may be the greatest contribution you ever make. And here is the sobering part. You don't get to opt out of this. Your influence is always at work, whether you like it or not. The only question is whether it is guiding people toward strength or weakness, toward meaning or despair. That is the weight of being human. But it is also the dignity of being human, that your life matters not just to you, but to others. So do not shrink from this responsibility. Do not hide from it. Embrace it. Live in such a way that your very existence becomes a call to higher living, because when you understand that your influence is your responsibility, you begin to live with a seriousness, a dignity, a purpose that cannot be shaken. And the truth is simple: your life is not just about you. It is about the countless others who will rise or fall because of the example you set.